Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MSP Initiative Live from Erie, Pennsylvania, on the lake, literally over there, for the Channel
Boom.
Strong Tour.
Boom.
What up, guys? Channel Strong Tour, first time here in northwestern Pennsylvania. And to be honest, as a guy who's born and raised in Philadelphia, first time for me here in the Erie area. I don't know how it took me this long to get here, but here I am.
George, you must be close to, are you close to Hershey land? Isn't Hersheyville close by you?
No, Hershey's closer to Philadelphia than it is to Erie. So, yeah, here's
Okay.
Philadelphia, here's Pittsburgh, here's Erie. Hershey's like right here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't been following, one of my new favorite shows is The Foods That Built America, and you learn a lot of things about how Hershey came about. It's a pretty intriguing story, actually.
It is a lot of drama and nefarious
Oreos.
activity.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he literally bought 1,200 acres to create the town. Like, Hershey obviously wasn't a town; they created their own town because there was no mass transportation at the time. They had to source their employees close to the factories, right?
Correct. And he did a lot of it. He did a lot of it on the sly. It wasn't like super ethical. What some of the buys that he made in order to create it and grow it.
It's funny. They were talking about how during like World War I, World War II, when they were doing food rationing, that sugar was one of those things that was like very heavily rationed.
Yeah.
And so he built his own sugar processing factory in Cuba, and literally was importing his own sugar to get around the food rationing. It was actually pretty smart idea at the time.
It is.
But hey, you don't have to believe me. Go check out the History Channel. I'm dead serious, History Channel.
The Foods That Built America.
That make America. The Foods That Built America. And like these companies are, like, you don't even think about this, right? Like KFC is worth $5 billion, or like that whole Dado Cassette acquisition, $6.2 billion. Kellogg Corporation, the cereal company, $20 billion. Like, it was the iPhone of the day, like they built, food was technology, right?
Did they talk about like Chiquita banana and all the banana crops that come from Hawaii and those Hawaiian islands to the U.S.?
No, I haven't gotten to that yet. Actually, I missed Sunday's episode. It was about Orville Redenbacher.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to get into the weeds on that one.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. My guest, if you haven't already seen his name here, Mr. Dave Scott from Scott Digital Marketing, as we like to bring people on, talk about various topics. Obviously, Dave, before we get into just all the good stuff that's happening out in the world from your angle, the still reeling from the Dado Kaseya news. Would love to get your opinion on it. What's your feel? What's your take?
Yeah, just the merger in general, or all mergers?
No, let's talk about this one. If you feel like it's it brings you to a larger idea, feel free to go down that road. But I mean, there's just a lot of uncomfortableness around this particular one because of its size and because it kind of takes the landscape down to like only a handful of companies now.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, Dado got acquired by a PE group or VC group, right? And so, that was first. Austin McCord got bought out, and him and his team sailed off into the sunset and built the modern day Dado infrastructure, which what you have today. And now the Kaseya merger. So I don't know if it was a true acquisition, who bought who, but the bottom line is you've got two very huge, large entities merging, and I mean, the operations will still flow. Product development will still continue to happen. Coding and development will still continue to happen. I'm sure their customer service is going to go because that's typically what happens in big mergers. You've seen it 100 times before. I mean, back in the day, this is the early 2000s. I was part of 3 acquisitions in less than 2 years. And so I worked for Verizon Corporate, and the headquarters then used to be in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. So not too far from you guys. And then they had a regional office in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is just north of Chicago. And so I spent a lot of time out there. I was on a B2B sales and marketing acquisition team where we were mapping plans over from other telco carriers and cell phone carriers to the new stuff. And so it was funny. Some months our paychecks just came from a trust group. We just had to check in with like an attorney. It was crazy. I didn't even have a boss. And so it was the whole M&A, when you're talking hundreds of billions of dollars, which that one was, they can get really complicated. But Verizon gobbled up Alltel, they gobbled up Cellular One, they gobbled up Rural Cellular Corporation, which was a huge carrier based in Alexandria, Minnesota, north of the Twin Cities, and they gobbled up components of AT&T, and then they got sued, and then the FCC got involved, and they put portions of the company into a divestiture, and for a period of time, as they analyzed it to make sure it was a monopoly, because in some areas it was, some areas it wasn't, and it just got all fucked up really fast. But at the end of the day, everything worked out. But there's good and bad to it. I would say if you're a reseller of those solutions,
I think let me just pause you for a second, Dave. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter on the online forums about, hey, send an email into the FTC, file complaints, and send the other. I'm not sure that it's a big transaction for our subvertical, our sandbox MSP land, I like to call it. But in the overall big picture, I'm not sure, like when you're lumping this conversation in with the Googles and Facebooks and Apples and all those guys out there, I'm not sure that this is one of those ones that gets a regulatory problem.
No, definitely not. What's going to happen is, so partners that are using, like we work with about 20 different MSPs across the country and a couple different SaaS vendors. And they utilize things like, Datto's MDF, market development funds. They utilize their marketing collateral for their growth, right? So say you're a $5, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million MSP or managed telco firm or whatever you are, and you want to utilize those resources for growth, they might change or go away, right? And so that's something you have to think about. So from our perspective, from a sales and marketing perspective, and just to correct you, it's not Scott Digital Marketing anymore, it's Scott Growth Strategies. But as a growth strategy firm,
new name,
good, it's all good.
Hashtag.
I'm going to force you to, for that mistake, I'm going to force you to wear a Kirk Cousins jersey. So in the grand scheme of things, what's going to happen is it might get harder for you to grow and market your services using those MDF funds or their marketing collateral, because who's going to keep up with them, right? So the questions I'm asking as an MSP is, what's the value that this merger, this acquisition is bringing to the table? If I'm already using Kasseya's PSA tool, are all the same integrations going to work? Are the payments integrations or the QuickBook integrations going to work? Is all those things going to continue to work? So I'm not hampered as a business. From a sales and marketing perspective, am I going to be able to get approval on MDF funds, or is it going to be like going through Microsoft, which is like, getting your teeth pulled without Novocaine, that painful? What are they providing in terms of value? And so I wouldn't be nervous. I mean, it is what it is. You can't change it, and you can choose to get upset over it, but those are things we can't control. And so I'd argue, get upset about things you can control, not necessarily about things you can't. However, those are things from my perspective that I'm looking at. And ConnectWise went through their acquisition and their buyout a few years ago. Their marketing collateral got better because they hired internal team members, and they also outsourced a lot of it to Marketopia. So Marketopia's copywriters actually they own a lot of the content inside of the channel promotion program. So if I'm a ConnectWise user and I want to dive in and log into my portal, people don't know this, but it's true. A lot of that content is created by the copywriting team at Marketopia. And it's all just white label content. I can add my logo, I can add my copy to it, I can adjust it, I can indent it, I can use it verbatim, or I can rip it apart, or whatever the case might be, whether it's piece of marketing collateral, email marketing copy, press release templates, whatever the case might be. I can use all that stuff. So from a sales and marketing perspective, I'm looking at it from that, from a functionality point of view. Like, what does this impact me? How is this tool merger going to help me grow? How is it going to or hinder me?
Well, let me actually pick that. Let me pick that one point out there, right? Like, no news is bad news. I don't know if that's true. I know the cliche's been out there forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much the MSP's end customer is aware of how the ecosystem looks, and they know certain household brand names, right?
Totally.
Microsoft, Apple, Dell, Comcast, AT&T, right? But generally speaking, other than last year with the Cassette breach news that hit mainstream news, I don't know if they know the name Dato. I don't know if they know the name Cassette. I don't know if they know the name ConnectWise.
They probably
right?
never would. Yeah.
So does that really deter? This news doesn't necessarily help you from a end customer standpoint, other than your back end costing and contractual relationship.
Correct. It's purely operational. Your customers, like if I'm an MSP and I service just law firms, like in California or in, Texas or Florida, and that's my only vertical, or maybe manufacturers and law firms, they could give two shits about the merger unless it's going to impact them somehow, meaning the MSP's customer base. What they are going to find is if they use any of their cloud solutions, they might be impacted because their costs might go up. If there's hardware infrastructure changes are going to have to take place. I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I'm really smart, but I'm not like an IT guy or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 technician. But what I do know is those might be costs that you're going to have to talk about with your customers, right? And so if those costs are going to go up, that'll impact them. But they wouldn't necessarily know it's coming from the Cassette merger. They're just going to know that, hey, my outsourced IT firm, my managed service provider is now increasing my bill, and here's why. Or they're decreasing it, or they're having to get me new hardware, new implementation.
All right, hold on. In a past life, you used to have offer a solution that helped companies with, PR around bad events, right? How do you position best? It feels like
crisis management.
More recently, there it is. I was thinking about the word crisis management. It feels like all the downstream things that from the vendor side that pass through to the end customer are never good. Like more recently, we had Microsoft NCE. We had all these things that either change terms, change pricing, change business, structuring of deals.
Yeah.
It feels like it's more that direction than, hey, we're doing good things for you.
Yeah.
How do you best position that from a communication standpoint?
So I'd always, and you're right, and I'll come back to one point I want to make. And so the private equity venture capital conversation is a double-edged sword. MSPs love it when they get bought out for a 4, 5, 6, 7x multiple, but they hate it if they're not in a selling or buying situation and they have to pass costs on to their customers. So we love it, we hate it. I love the taste of cake, but that 12,000 calorie large slice of cake is going to gain me 4 or 5 pounds, which is going to make me that much more hyper aware for heart disease or stroke or whatever the case might be. So consequences, right? It's a double-edged sword. We love it when it benefits us, but we hate it when it doesn't. As you're talking about how to communicate, just be open and honest. Don't wait. If you've got clients and you're going to raise prices, tell them, get out in front of it from a PR perspective and a marketing perspective. Just tell them, hey, we're the cloud provider we use. It's a company called Datto. You don't know them, but we resell their services and their solutions. There might be price increases. There might not be, but there might be. Here's what that looks like. And if you're a smaller MSP, $1, $2, $3 million, or about that size range, you need to raise your prices. Almost all of them that we talk to that are within that price range don't offer or don't often raise their prices, and they need to. Ones that are bigger than that, there's a whole nother conversation to be had. But if there's price increases, if there's operational changes, if there's tech support changes, then you need to be out front and find out from your data or your Kaseya rep what that's going to look like. And they probably don't even know yet because let's be honest, they're just low man on the totem pole. They're not going to know what that looks like yet. But if there are those changes, and once those platforms do come together and communicate to you as a tech business owner, you need to immediately email all your customers. And I'm not talking about sending them a shitty email from Outlook. Like, email marketing through Outlook is not email marketing. That's just sending an email. You need to get a professional email marketing platform like Constant Contact, or we use MailChimp, or HubSpot's tool is great, although it's expensive. It's the Cadillac. But just get an email marketing tool. Put all your email addresses in there of your current clients. Doesn't matter if you have 5 or 500, and then just communicate with them. And that should be something that you make a regular habit. So it's not quite crisis communication, but it, could be part of it.
Crisis communications. Yeah, like crisis communications, like, yes, we've been breached. All of our customers now have ransomware. That's crisis communication.
That's crisis communication. Hey, our CEO got drunk and, hit somebody and he's in jail and he's going to be accused of manslaughter. Like, that's crisis communication, right? Like that kind of stuff. To your point, you got hit with a data breach. Your information's out on the World Wide Web. It's going to hurt your business. That's crisis communication. Platform change is not so much crisis communication, but there's a sense of urgency to it. And you also need to do a good job of communicating it too. A lot of IT guys don't write copy. Everybody says they can write copy. Oh, I'm a marketer. I can do that. I can go out and play football. I could do what Kirk Cousins does. He missed that fucking throw. I can go out there and do that. No way. Now, I'd argue some of the throws that he makes, I could probably make, but it doesn't matter who your quarterback is. Everybody is an armchair quarterback. Everybody says
the throw that goes into the ground like a worm ball. Yeah, you can do those.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, everybody thinks they can do those things, but they can't, right? And so you have to have really good copy. You have to put good subject lines into your emails, and you want to clearly communicate what is going on. Case in point, the company that you and I both know and love rolled out some pricing changes recently, and it was a fucking train wreck. It was so confusing, and the prices actually didn't go up that much, but the way it was communicated was by somebody on their super technical team, and it went off the rails like really fast, and now their support is flooded and it wasn't communicated really clearly. So my point is, in being a story brand authority, which is what we are here at SGS, and sell like crazy authorities, those are two sales and marketing methodologies. They talk about clarity. When you confuse, you lose. When you confuse your current customer base and you roll out a pricing change that goes dogleg left, you lose. You're going to lose customers. Your retention is going to go down. People are going to leave you, and it's not good. And so if you're an IT firm listening to this today and you've got some stuff to communicate to your customers, don't try to do it yourself. Like, there's a lot of really great copywriters in the IT channel who can do this stuff for you. I think of Jennifer Bleem, our team, Brian Sherman. Like, even if they can't, they don't have the bandwidth, they can at least put you in touch with somebody who could probably write some email campaigns for you. But don't just try to wing ding it and look really unprofessional. You want to do it in a right way that's really clear and that concisely lays out what's going to happen for them, what the consequences are, and what they should expect.
No, so it's so interesting now. It's very every MSP is like encouraged heavily to have an incident response plan. What happens if the inevitable security situation occurs? Like, you need to have something in place, not just from an insurance standpoint, but like, what is your process? What do you need to do in order to get from this is now an issue to I've remediated? Sounds like they need to also have the front end communication part of that planned ahead of time. Otherwise, you could put your foot in your mouth in a bad way.
Yep. I mean, if you have cybersecurity insurance, they have, if you read through most cyber insurance policies, they have most of them have clauses in there that provide you services through a law office who can do that for you. Most law offices have an attorney or two on staff, unless it's a really small office and it's just one guy or one gal. But they'll usually have like a junior attorney or somebody on their team who has PR crisis management background. I do. I've gone through crisis PR management many times. It's not fun. We'll just leave it at that. My point is, you want to make sure that you read through that clause, because if they already provide it, you shouldn't have to spend extra money for it. If you're an IT firm that's large enough and you have a legal relationship with a law firm, I'd absolutely consult them. I'd absolutely, if you go through a really bad crisis like a data breach, like say this Kaseya data merger goes through just fine, which I'm sure it will, right? And at the end of the day, the lights are going to stay on, the wheels on the bus will go round and round, no pun intended. And for the most part, the tools will continue to operate. But what if they get hit with their data breach? It's inevitable, right? ConnectWise, Autotask, all of them, they're all going to get hit with it eventually, and they all have to a certain extent. So if that happens again, then what's your plan? So you're going to want to have some sort of conversation with your attorney, or take a look at your cybersecurity insurance policy, because there will be a clause in there that should tell you, hey, this is the services that you get if this happens, and this is what that looks like.
Dave, before we get into the MSP's path forward here, some people feel like what's happening right now from the Kaseya side is like almost like a PR damage control strategy. Like, why does it feel like they're going out trying to convince people everything's okay here when a lot of people feel it isn't?
What do you mean? I hear what you're saying. I don't get that sense though.
Well, it seems like there's a full out PR strategy about nothing's going to change. The past is the past. We're moving forward in a different way. Nothing to see here. Everything's going to stay the same, or we can't talk about it until after the deal's done, but you shouldn't worry.
That's very normal. I mean, most companies that go through large, this is not like $100 million merger. We're talking billions, right? So most of the time they're going to have some sort of strategy. They're going to have a communication strategy just like that says, hey, don't freak out. There's no reason to go crazy, but just understand we're still finishing up the final touches in this merger and acquisition, and it will take 3 months or 2 months or 6 months for us to get all those puzzle pieces put together. That's super normal because you don't want people freaking out. You don't want them leaving your platform because that impacts your churn, your retention rate. And in the wireless and telecom industry, churn is bad. High churn is bad. It's like a bounce rate on a website. The higher the bounce rate, probably the crappier your website is. And so you don't want to have that. You don't want to have churn. Plus, people get paid based on retention. Let's just be honest. If you have leaders or CEOs who have stock options inside of these companies, part of their buyout, and you can ask anybody, ask Reed Warren, IT Valuations, ask Mike Harvath at Revenue Rocket, ask Rick Murphy at Cogent. These are all guys who do M&A deals inside the channel. They'll tell you that buyouts and payouts are based on company performance. So if you lose like 10% or 20% or 30% of your customers overnight, it's bad for you. It's going to impact your pocketbook. So obviously I don't want that. Obviously I want to go to the masses and I want to say, hey, don't leave us. There's no reason to. More details coming soon. And so that's all very normal. So I wouldn't say it's a PR strategy. There's no crisis. It's just a merger of two big behemoths for an even bigger number, but their communication is just pretty standard.
Okay. Well, there it is, folks, from a guy that goes out there and helps people, make sure that their messaging's on point. So let's zoom out now, Dave. You work with many MSPs out there, a couple of vendors in the space too, a few. What's working and what's not working? MSPs need to be looking at their bottom line as much as the upstream vendors in the space are going to do what they're going to do. The MSP also needs to worry about their business. Growth is part of that. You don't want to be flat. You need to make sure you're profitable. What's working? What's not working?
Yeah. So you said growth, the word growth, and that's the key. That's the ticket right there. Reed Warren published an article for Channel Pro. I'm not sure if it's came out yet, but if not, it will soon. And inside of the article, he essentially says, if you're between $1 million and $5 million in gross annual revenue, and you're doing less than 10% EBITDA, sell now, because you will get a 4, 5, and 6x multiple. Take that money, go do something else with it, and just sail off into the sunset. Conversely, he says,
wow,
if you're an MSP that is within that revenue range, and you have more than 10% growth, more than 10% EBITDA year over year, double down on sales, marketing, and double down on your verticals and get hyper verticalized and grow. And that's really the key, is growth. And that was one of the reasons that we rebranded. I don't think I've been on here since we rebranded. I know you had Heather on a few months ago. And thanks for having us on. This is like our 3rd or 4th time, by the way. Yeah, appreciate it very much. We rebranded from Scott Digital Marketing to Scott Growth Strategies for that very reason. A lot of what we do is not just digital marketing or copywriting. Like, in order to go through and figure out what MSPs and IT services firms are selling, Heather goes through months and months and months of dissecting all their services, from BDR to cybersecurity to support and blah, 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 blah. A lot of them try to bucket these things out, or their contracts are super confusing. Again, we talk about when you're clear, you win, you're confused, you lose. And so we want to bring it all under 1 or 2 managed services packages or bundles, right? Fully managed, co-managed, that's it. And if ideally in a perfect world it's up to me, I'd get one plan for everybody, right? Make it easy.
Hold on. Everybody just hear this? We're so busy doing bronze, gold, silver. Two plans to rule them all. Co-managed, fully managed. That's it.
That's it. Yep. 9 times out of 10, well, not
That
9
makes it
times,
simple.
about 6 or 7 times out of 10, 60, 70% of the time, Heather will move our clients, and she's a wizard, by the way. She will brilliantly move our clients down a path where they have 2 plans, fully and co-managed. Now, co-managed, you can also call augmented, you can call whatever you want, but it's basically just not fully, it's just pieces of it, right? And then you have your fully managed plan. So you bill $150, $200, $300, $400 per seat, per user, per person inside the building, and away you go, call it good. And it includes all these things, right? And so you have to have some sort of semblance and clarity around that. And so as we come back to the previous conversations about growth, a lot of growth, or a lot of what we used to do from a digital marketing perspective just was digital marketing. And so we're doing a whole lot more today. Things I would say that are working is getting clarity around what they offer. And you'd be surprised, even the larger MSPs, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10 million MSPs don't know what they're selling, which is crazy to me because like at SGS, we have 6 employees. We just hired our 6th. We're in the process of hiring our 6th team member. We're going to break, the $1.5 million mark by the end of the year, which is great. But I know clearly what we're selling, and I know exactly how to sell it, and I know how profitable it is. I know how many hours go into each package. Like I measure that shit religiously. And $1.5 million in gross annual revenue. We have plans. We will eventually get to $2, $3, $4, $5 million in annual revenue, and we're going to be the best and the biggest sales and marketing vendor inside the IT industry. That's our goal. But that being said, we've dissected that today, as small as we are. And so for IT services firms that are bigger than us to not have that figured out, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're stressing yourself out a lot, and you don't need to be, right? And so as a growth strategy component, the Kaseya Datto stuff aside, like you have to clearly identify what the heck it is you're even selling, and then start offering that in a very singular solution, very clear solution. And email marketing is still, you've heard me beat it like a dead horse before, and I'll preach it all day long. If you're not doing email marketing, you're losing sales, and you will lose as a business. And your competitors will continue, the ones who are good at business development will continue to take your lunch and eat it and push you down on the playground and kick sand in your face. So if you want to be that kid, go ahead. But if you don't want to be that kid, if you want to be the person who rises up and who understands what you're selling and who really focuses on innovative marketing tactics that are going to allow you to grow and grow quickly, a lot of that is going to come from email marketing. The other thing we're seeing a lot of is MDF funds. We're helping a lot of MSPs get a recoup on their dollars. We just helped a couple of MSPs, newer clients of ours, get payouts of $7,000 to $25,000. And this is by submitting expenses, receipts to Microsoft. Datto was one of them, actually. Datto was a great MDF program. A couple other vendors, I can't think of their names. And then just, from some sponsorship stuff too. But at the end of the day, these MDF funds are tricky to navigate, and they take a lot of time and a lot of work, and it's not simple. And so you need somebody to do that work for you. Well, we do that for you. So imagine spending, $5 or $6 grand a month on marketing times 12 months, 5 times 12 is 60, but you get 20 or 30 of that back through MDF funds. That's a fucking no-brainer. I would do that every single day of the week. So now you're getting high level, high quality marketing from a channel vendor like us, who's doing it right, where a lot of our competitors are doing it wrong because they're old school. By the way, you're getting a lot of that paid for. You don't have to pay for a lot of that because it's getting recouped to you, or you're getting reimbursed through MDF funds. So those are 2 big ones. If you don't have an email marketing strategy and an email capture, meaning you're getting lists replenished into your CRM or into your email marketing platform on a consistent basis, that's one thing I would tell you guys to really buckle down and double down on. And then MDF funds will pay for a lot of your marketing. So if you feel like you can't afford it, I've been there, man. I empathize with those guys, but you can get a lot of it paid for if you're just really smart with your time.
It's interesting. I'm sure this doesn't surprise you, but I feel like a lot of MSPs still highly rely on referral-based, growth, right? Hoping that existing customers say, hey, you do a good job. so-and-so is looking for someone, but I feel like that has a ceiling. And like a lot of people just never get out of that cycle.
No.
Maybe because they're comfortable where they're at and they know that they're only going to be a certain size, but other people, they have spent 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000 on some marketing program that resulted in nothing. I mean, I get there's a balancing act with, hey, you need to let things work for a little bit because there's a cumulative build on marketing, but if you're 2 or 3 years in and you've gotten nothing back, I think that at that point it's not working.
Yeah. So what is the definition of nothing? You got nothing back. Everybody's definition of ROI is different. I just paid
Sure.
a podcast consultant.
I didn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Here you go. Here's a definition. My website traffic's about the same. I didn't necessarily net any new actionable leads, and my stuff looks better, but it didn't actually bring anybody in the door.
Yeah. So what are you doing to drive traffic to your website? Website doesn't go up because you pay an SEO firm. What are you doing to drive traffic to it? And how much traffic are you driving to it? And then what does your lead capture forms look like? What are you giving to get? Like if you follow the methodology from Sabi Subri, the author of Sell Like Crazy, he'll say you're not going to get shit from your website if you're not giving something to them. So what's your piece of what we call HVCO, high value content offer? Meaning what's an ebook or a case study that will show your prospects that you care about them and that will actually solve a problem for their business without them ever having to call you. So it's the Go-Giver methodology. Don from, I forget Don's last name. You know Don, muscular, handsome ass, bald guy. Crap.
Us bald guys don't know each other. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
Exactly. Don once sent me the book, The Go-Giver Methodology. It's a great book, right? Great book. And but you have to give to get, right? So of course your website's not going to get you an ROI. We had this conversation about last fall with the IT firm that I made angry because I was just blunt with them. And here's the thing. I would rather be slapped in the face with the truth than kiss with a lie, right? A slap in the face is going to sting a little bit and it may hurt to hear it. And if you've got a big ego, it's going to be a lot more painful for you. But over somebody gently kissing me with a lie, that's just going to poison me, right? So the CEO was like, what's the ROI of marketing? What's the ROI of marketing? What's the ROI of marketing? And they're about a $14, $15, $16 million licensing consulting firm out in New York City. And I said, you guys have a building? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, obviously the pandemic, it's half staffed, half full. So present situation excluded. I said, what's the outside of your building look like? He said, it's pristine. It's really nice. We pay a maintenance company to take care of it. And when we have clients come here, they see that we have quality. I said, cool. I said, how often do your maintenance people come to fix up the outside of the building, take care of the grounds and landscaping and the yard work? And you can see where I'm going with this. He's like, oh, they come like twice, 2 or 3 times a month, and we pay them really well, and we pay them on retainer. And here's how that works. I said, great. What's the ROI of your landscaping company? And he's like, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that before. I said, so I said, what do you pay them per month? $4 or $5 grand a month, because it's a big building. They're a big MSP or big tech services firm. I said, you pay them on retainer between $4 and $5 grand a month, sometimes more if they have to like plant shrubs. And if you got dead trees and they have to do more work, right? It's like taking recurring and turning to project-based work. So there's a little bit more added onto that. They might get hit with a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 bill if they got a bunch of dead shrubs or a bunch of plants growing into fucking windows or whatever that they got to eliminate or cut down, right? So not everything's included. It's like managed services. What's the ROI of that? He's like, what are you getting at? I said, why are you scrutinizing sales and marketing specifically, but you're not scrutinizing every other part of your business? I said, I've never understood that. And I said, I get that you guys want to drill down and you want to beat us over the head. And if you don't do this, we're going to fire you guys. I said, but how long you been paying this maintenance firm to take care of your exterior of your building? Like 3 or 4 years. Okay. So you're spending that amount of money per month and you've been doing it for over 3 years, for almost 4 years, and you don't have a justification for the ROI. I was like, shame on you. Shame on you. And then you beat the shit out of your business development guys or your sales guys because they don't have a fucking CRM, or they don't have good tools, or they don't have a good email marketing platform that's giving them air cover to get really great brand awareness and lead gen. Shame on you. I was like, and I asked the bold question. I was like, what's the ROI of your mother? And he's like, What are you talking about? I was like, do you have a mom? He's like, yeah, I love my mom. She's in a nursing home. She's older now. This is the CEO talking, but I love her. I said, okay, great. Did she ever give you a pep talk when you were a kid? Of course she did. She believes in me. She's my mother. I said, awesome. So that encouragement helped propel you to the driven, ambitious CEO that you are today, right? He's like, yeah, sure it did. I said, what's the ROI of that? He goes, well, I'm sure you could take my annual salary and that's the ROI. I said, great. Now you have a benchmark to weigh that against. I said, we don't have a benchmark today because first of all, you're not paying us to do that. And I said, secondly, we haven't had that conversation yet. I said, so I can drive and justify an ROI around anything. I mean, I have 2 vehicles in my garage. I have a Toyota pickup truck and I have a used SUV that's my daughter's that she parks at in my townhouse every once in a while. I could, if I wanted to, I could justify any fucking ROI till Jesus comes back, right? Till the Great Awakening comes back. As much as I want, I can justify anything. The point is, it's not about justification or ROI. It's about activity. Great sales is not about managing numbers. It's not about managing, beating your sales team up because they don't hit numbers. It's about activity. It's just about quantitative and qualitative numbers and putting that plan together, right? So if your sales guy or your sales lady is only making 2 calls a day and she's got no marketing support, how can you expect her to get a good result? Now, if you're saying, hey, let's do 40, 50, 60 touches a day or calls a day or emails a day, plus we're blasting our content via LinkedIn, plus we're creating really cool videos and we're emailing them out in email marketing campaigns, now you've got a good process. And you should be getting some sort of ROI for sure within 2 or 3 years, like you talked about before.
I was just about to say, how do you figure out, based on the size of your company, how much activity is the right amount? Or is the answer more activity at all costs? Is the answer, I don't know if that's the right answer, but at the end of the day, it's the touch, excuse me, how much content based on the size of your company. But then the quality of the content is also important. I feel like it is regurgitated stuff isn't working, right? Because it's just the same bland vanilla stuff over and over. And that's why we started to see even MSPs do this format, right? Where they're like, hey, I want to put myself out there because now the content is a little bit more, it feels more personal.
Yeah. So there's an old adage that says, doing something is a little better than nothing. And that's not true at all. That's not true at all. There is a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. That's like saying, I'm going to go put gas in my car. I don't have enough money to put in a full tank, but I got to drive 450 miles and I'm just going to put in a quarter tank. So putting a little in there should get me the result I want. Nothing in life works that way. Like the Robin Robbins of the world, the MSP marketing, the Nigels, the guys like that, they got good stuff, but it's all syndicated. Everybody else is using the same stuff. And I'm not trying to knock them. I'm just being honest. Again, like I said earlier, the cliche, I'd rather be slapped by the truth than kissed with a lie is true in this situation. And I'm so sick of IT guys getting taken advantage of. I feel bad for our clients. Every single one of them has gone through a channel IT marketing vendor and they've gotten hurt and they've had shitty content given to them and they've paid, to your point, some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars and gotten bubkiss in return. We haven't had one client leave us in almost 3 years. Very high retention rates. We do good work. We're easy to work with. We're tough on them, but it's about growth, right? So taking a step back, like you talked about a minute ago, you can't, if you want to grow, you have to have your own customized content. And if you don't have the money to afford it, then figure out a way to afford it, right? Go get funding, go get growth funding. And if you can't, then adjust your services to be able to pay for it. And growth is really hard. It's really hard. When I was a CMO at Connect Booster and B&G, I remember when I first started there, we were like $1.5 million, $2 million in annual revenue. And now they're like, 30, 20, 30, 40, $50 million in gross annual revenue. I got to imagine, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together in my head. And they've grown because they took a lot of risks. And the owners were like, we're going to grow and this is going to be hard and we're going to go get funding. Some of it might mean a little bit of debt in order to grow, right? And their path is no different than any other channel marketing vendor or channel vendor. I was just part of the brainchild for that one's growth. But what I'll tell you is it's about growth. And if you don't have a growth mindset, then don't spend money and use referrals like you talked about earlier and make that your path. Like that's okay. A lot of, you'll hear channel growth consultants are like, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I'm like, that's not true. If you're 5 or 10% annual growth and you have a lifestyle business, great, then go do your lifestyle business. But don't waste money on our stuff. Don't spend money on Robin Robbins. Don't spend any money on Marketopia. Don't call the stewards of the world. Just go do your own thing and grow at that steady clip and be happy. But all those aforementioned companies and us can help you grow, but it really is about a growth mindset. There are 4 things that we look for when we bring on a channel partner. And those 4 things are: 1, are they big enough to afford our services? 2, do they align with our mission and vision? 3, do they have the sales and marketing infrastructure to support growth? Meaning, are they unorganized or organized? And 4, are they ready? Most channel partners, most IT firms that I talk with are ready for growth. The majority of them. You've got 50, 60, 70% of them want to grow. They want to get beyond 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. They want to get to 7. They want to get to 8. They want to get to 10. But growth is hard. And we're going to create a budget, and we're going to ask you to spend a lot more money than you would with any other channel vendor, because that's what it happens. That's what's necessary in order to grow. And so once you develop what that mindset looks like,
so how much of this? Yeah. So how much of this, Dave, is there is not a legitimate fine plan, right? They're just kind of going with the flow, and whatever happens, happens. I feel like that's a lot of what's happening out there. Like when you first talk with someone about what, where your stuff could come in and help, and I assume there starts with, well, what's your 3-year plan or 5-year plan? Do you have one? Because don't you have to work backwards from actual numbers? Otherwise, where are we working towards?
For sure. So when you write a great blog piece, and I'm seeing some of the comments, and they're awesome, by the way. Hi to Adam Belansky and some of those other guys who are watching. And these guys, I know, I've had dozens of conversations with guys like that across the channel. And it's not necessarily about a number. It's about your mission and vision. Like, what's your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal? What number you want to get to, right? One of the aforementioned vendors we talked about earlier was like, my goal is to get to 100 mil. And if I could get to 100 mil, I would sell. And so that's the big number. That's the big, hairy, audacious goal. When he was younger, people told him he was fucking nuts. But guess what? That guy and his team are now there, right? So my point is, it's okay to dream. It's okay to dream. Like a lot of guys who are watching this today might be stuck in self-limiting beliefs, or Heather talked about this in the last call she had with you guys. She talked about self-doubt, self-belief, limiting executive function, ADHD, and a lot of these things impact how we set goals. And it's okay to dream big. It's absolutely 100% okay to dream big, right? And as a part of that, it's okay as an IT firm to say, hey, I might be small today, but I won't be forever. I might struggle. I mean, I'm super fit. I don't struggle to do pull-ups, but I might struggle to do 10 pull-ups today. I might struggle to do 1 or 2. I might be morbidly obese or not strong or whatever. And I might struggle to do that today. But if I stick to this regimen and this plan, I won't in 6 months. I won't in 6 weeks. I'll be able to do 8, 9, 10 pull-ups. We might struggle today to manage our revenues or to get to that 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, $5 million mark. But it's okay to dream and put a stake in the ground and say, we want to get to this big. What's it going to take to get there? And a lot of guys just don't have the patience, the panache, or the mindset to do that. I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk who came at a channel event last year, and the first thing he did when he stepped on stage, you remember that? He said, 80% of you guys shouldn't
I will
be in
never
business
forget
today.
it.
80% of you guys.
He did absolutely say that.
He said, I've watched it online. He's like, 80% of you guys shouldn't even be in business today. And I 100% agree with him. 100% of the time, 80% of the time. But my point is, he was right. 80% of IT firms are guys who got into it for the wrong reason, and they shouldn't be business owners. They're stressing themselves out. It's costing them their marriages. It's costing them the hair on their head because they're stressed out. Exactly. And not everybody can be handsome bald like we are, but it's costing them a lot, right? And so don't just start a tech firm because you got laid off or because you got fired or got a pink slip or because you think you can do it better. Most guys can't. And if you really want growth, you really have to take a hard look in the mirror and say, okay, Am I going to be able to handle and manage the chaos? Am I going to be able to handle and manage the stress? We might go from 2 employees to 22 in a year. How am I going to handle that? Am I going to be able to handle the increased payroll costs every month? Am I risk averse, or am I going to embrace risk, right? And a lot of guys just don't have the stomach for it. I didn't back in the day. I'm 44, going on 45 now. I didn't when I was in my 20s and 30s. And so I'm super grateful for the men and women that taught me all the things that I know today. But what I saw over time was you have to be willing to stomach that growth. If you're not, don't waste your money. Don't go into debt. Don't wreck your life. Do something else. There's nothing wrong with being a really good tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 technician or a cybersecurity engineer. Like, you don't have to be the CEO of a struggling IT services firm. So getting back to your original question, talk about activity. That activity needs to be developed in a content calendar, right? Which is something we do here at SGS. All of our content, none of it's syndicated. We don't got a portal that you log into and pay 40 or 50 bucks a month with a bunch of bullshit content, low quality content. That stuff is low quality. It's garbage. It's actually hurting your business. It's hurting your social media metrics, and it's hurting your SEO. Don't buy it. If you're spending money on it, stop spending money on it. You need to develop a plan to hire somebody that can write really high quality, organic copy and content. And you just plug it into a content calendar. So just to answer your question earlier, George, because I want to make sure the audience knew, if you're a MSP that's $1, $2, $3, $4 million in annual revenue, you should be doing sales-driven email campaigns every week. You should have a high value content offer, HVCO, like I talk about in the book, Sell Like Crazy. You should be doing quarterly drip campaigns, which are a series of emails that educate your prospects. Email. And then you're reselling other people's stuff, right? There's no reason that you can't tap into their MDF funds. Give them a call. Say, hey, what's your MDF program, your market development fund program? I want in, and I want you to reimburse some of these costs for me. It's going to be painful and it's going to be stressful, but you can get through it. And then from there, like we talked about early on, it's really about clarifying your service offering and your solutions. What do you sell? Who are you selling it to? And what does that look like? And then if you're, like I said, taking a ginormous step back, if you're really stressed out and you're $1.5 million in gross annual revenue or less, and you're not growing at that number that we talked about earlier, that 10% EBITDA, that, guys like Rick Murphy, Mike Harvath, and Reed Warren will all attest to, that you need to grow. If you're not at that number, you're not growing, just sell and get out of it and go do something else. It would be hard. Yes. There's a lot of ego. Yep. You got to choose to lay down your CEO title and go do something else. But there's so many great business owners in the IT industry. Give them a call and sell your firm to them, or merge with them, right? And be a really great employee and be good at what you do.
100%. Now, your buddy, Kirk Cousins, got another year of fully guaranteed money. How does this guy keep on taking money out of the pocket of the owners of the Vikings? I don't understand.
Hey, listen here, man. When you get back to the Super Bowl and the playoffs, then you can talk to me about Kirk Cousins, buddy. You guys got your own shit that stinks in Philly.
When was the last time you were in the playoffs, my friend?
A couple years ago. And it was not good.
Me too.
Yeah, well, good.
Me too. I was there.
I know you were.
I was there last season. Where were you?
We did not make the playoffs, my friend. It was bad.
Okay. All right.
You're right. Our shit stinks. It is a dumpster fire.
I told you what was going to happen. It was going to be a clear house.
Yeah. I mean, some of the signings they're making are impressive. Yeah. I hear you. I mean, their new coach is, was the name of O'Donnell from the Rams, and he took and transformed that team. I mean, you got to have the studs too. If you don't got the studs, you don't got the players, none of it's going to help out. I have no clue who that is, but that's a handsome guy.
Yeah, that's Ken Patterson from Pack City. And look who else I got. Matt Lee.
Whoa.
What's up, guy?
There's one freaking awesome beard, baby.
Yeah, he loves the beard.
Duck Dynasty. Eat your heart out.
Yeah. He's going to shave that beard off at the end of the year, too.
Whoa. Why would he do that? That's a dumb idea.
Well, for charity.
Nice.
So, but if you're going to do it, might as well hook up some people who need some funds.
Yeah.
By the way, that Reed Warren article is published on Channel Pro.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, they can, if your audience wants to just post the article, I can send you the link, and you can share it with your audience. But yeah, it's a good one. And it just talks about very pragmatic stuff and about what growth looks like. Listen, at the end of the day, you got to decide why you're in business. What's your purpose? What's your intention? Right? What's your mission and vision? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? If you can't answer that clearly and you don't have a higher calling, and I'm not trying to get like super religious or whatever, but if you don't have a purpose defined by mission and vision, then stop being an IT owner. Go be an employee, because you're wasting your time and you're stressing yourself out and you're wasting other people's time. If you have a purpose and you want to be intentional and you want to do the work and deal with the stress and lose the hair, and it might possibly cost you everything, business ownership was one reason I'm not married anymore, just being super transparent, right? It was hard. And so if you're not willing to sacrifice all those things, then don't do it. Go do something else. But if you are willing to put in the work and do the sacrifices, follow the advice of really smart channel experts, the Jameson Wests of the world, the Reed Warrens of the world, the George Bardisis of the world, then you'll be successful and things will be good. But it's, it comes at a cost, and it's hard. It's really hard to do.
Yeah, businesses are like living, breathing organisms, right? I was just talking to a few guys in Pittsburgh yesterday on this tour, Channel Strong tour, and some guys were really smart, right? They were working at other MSPs, or they were working at internal IT, and then they started their own businesses, and that happens a lot. But there's just a lot of smart people who grew out of specific industries that just know, their niche, right? And so that's how a lot of these businesses start, Dave, as you know. But I really believe that, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't understand what it takes at certain levels, and they can grow to a point and muscle through. But once you get from one employee to, let's say, 10 employees, or 5 to 10 employees, it's a lot different. I mean, it just really, all of the people problems that come out of having personnel other than yourself, it really changes the game. And you could be a really good technical person, but a really good people manager, really good sales manager, a really good help desk manager, all at the same time. Yeah, that's how we lose that hair.
Yep, that's exactly it. It's about you hit the nail right on the head. Truer words could never have been said. It is about how you manage people, and it's about putting good people around you to then manage those people, right? As a CEO, you should not be in the weeds dealing with support tickets. You should be out building relationships, building referrals, doing business development. And if you're not doing that, then you should be managing your overall sales and marketing team, your growth, right? Every CEO should be doing that unequivocally. Now, if you're managing an ops team, support team, yes, you should have an IT manager or a support manager that does that for you, that reports to you on a good hierarchy. That's what EOS and Rockefeller Habits is for. But it takes a lot of patience too. I've become so much more patient than I ever have been. And I can be a bit of a driver and a bit of an ass sometimes. And so it takes a lot to just taper that back. Yeah, exactly. You know how it is. And I think most CEOs can be, but you learn a level of patience the older you get that helps you grow. And there's nothing wrong with being a driver, being ambitious, not at all, but it's about how you do it, right? And you have to make sure you have really good people. And again, it's about driving that mission and vision and your purpose. If you don't have that, you're going to fail. It's going to be maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but a year or 2 or 5, it's not going to be pretty. If you have a mission and vision and purpose, and that's your mindset, and you have that big, hairy, audacious goal, and you have a growth goal in mind, then get after it and be willing to put in the hours and do the hard work. And you'll be successful.
Or you could be Kirk Cousins.
Oh, Jesus.
You'd be successful. You might not be successful on the field, but your bank account's successful.
George, let's make a wager, my friend. Do they play the Eagles this year? Do the Vikes play the Eagles?
I don't know. Let me pull up the schedule. Let's see.
Yeah,
let's make it. Yeah, wager's good. Let's see.
Because I'm going to predict the Vikings are going to beat the Eagles this year.
Really?
If they play them, yeah, absolutely. Their team is going to be lights out dynamic, dude. I've never been more excited about being a Vikes fan.
Wow, that's a bold statement. Okay.
It is a bold statement.
So 2022 opponents: Saints, Steelers, Arizona, Tennessee, Jackson. Oh, Minnesota Vikings come to Philadelphia.
Okay. So let's put a wager on this game right now, so the whole world can see. The whole world. And then I gotta go.
Hold on. Are you gonna be in the building? Are you coming to Philadelphia for that game?
Are you fucking kidding me? No way. My brother, who's a 6'1" U.S. Marine, who's 250 pounds, got accosted by a bunch of lowlifes in your stadium. I'm like not that big or scary. There's no way I'm coming to your stadium for the risk of my own physical
Okay.
health.
I give you an invite. You can choose to take it or not take it. But
Now, if I come, I'm absolutely going to wear Eagles gear so I don't get the shit beat out of me.
I think that's a probably good strategy, to be honest.
It's a very good
that
strategy.
Or playing close, either's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the wager?
I don't know. What do you want to wager? Should we give some money to charity? Should we do something good?
I don't know. I'll have to come up with something good. How about wait a minute. Here you go, Dave. If the Eagles win, you have to shave your beard.
Oh no. That is a no. That's a no deal. That's a deal breaker.
And if the Eagles lose, I'll grow one.
No, this thing is never coming off. Another wager.
Hey, listen, I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, that was a great one. That is
a
great wager. But I am not that secure in my Vikings.
You were rock solid that these guys are going to come in here and take care of business. So I figured, okay, let's put something hard to it.
I'm also a realist and pragmatist too.
Okay. All right. I have to think about it, but we will come up with a wager.
All right.
How do people find Scott Growth Strategies, and where do they find you online?
So just check us out on the web at scottgrowthstrategies.com. That's Scott, SCOTT, growth strategies, plural.com. If they send me an email, George, I'm going to send them 2 free copies of books. So I'm going to send them Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller and then Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi. And we use both of those methodologies in all of our sales and marketing methodologies here at SGS. So my email address is DAVE at scottgrowthstrategies.com. So if they send me an email, I will go ahead and send them a free copy of that book. My admin will actually do it for me, but just shoot me an email. We'll get them 2 copies of that book. It'll transform their sales and marketing.
We will send that out to the rest of the MSP Initiative community. We'll have Sade take this session and we'll package it up and we'll send it out and put it on all the feeds because it sounds like 2 good books that people can learn from. So
awesome.
Appreciate you, Dave. Keep that beard nice and Yep. I see it.
I will.
I got you.
I will. No Eagles are going to take that beard from me, brother.
Okay. All right. I hear you loud and clear, my friend. Catch you on the flip side.
Appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy.